What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Tiger Pick'ems. My name is Lucas Parrish, and I am your host. Today, I am joined by MUTV staffers Ethan Burke and Brooke Lemke. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's awesome. You guys excited to talk some football?
Oh, absolutely.
Of course.
Any of you guys got any upsets? No spoilers as to what games. Just maybe a little sneak peek.
I looked at the matchups this week and I just can't really find any upsets that are
I understand.
quite gonna happen.
I understand. It's, college football is kind of like that. It's tough to bet against the top teams a lot of the time. Those teams tend to be just so good. All right, well, today we're going to be covering Florida at Texas A&M, Arkansas at Auburn, Tennessee at Georgia, and of course, Mizzou at LSU. Or, well, I guess now it's LSU at Mizzou. All right, so sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy the show.
Number 21 ranked Texas A&M at Kyle Field in College Station, Texas. Currently, the Gators are 2-0, whereas Texas A&M is 1-1 after a loss to Alabama last week. Kyle Trask, as the quarterback, is an offensive player that the Aggies need to watch for. The senior quarterback has had an exceptional start to the season, throwing 10 touchdown passes and 684 yards. Another key offensive player for the Gators is tight end Kyle Pitts, who connected well with Trask in the first 2 games of the season. Kyle Pitts has had 6 touchdowns so far this year, 12 receptions total, and 227 receiving yards. For Texas A&M to do well offensively, Kellen Mond needs to step up his game, show up early, and keep the momentum throughout the whole game, which proved to be a struggle in their opening game against Vanderbilt and last week again against Alabama. The other offensive players that the Gators should watch out for are tight end Jalen Weidermeyer, who in their game last week against Alabama had 8 receptions for 82 yards, and running back Anaya Smith, who had 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and 123 yards so far. Both Florida and Texas A&M have had their defensive struggles in the start of the season, but the Aggies need to watch out for defensive lineman Zachary Carter, who was named the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Following his performance against South Carolina, he had 11 tackles and 1.5 sacks. The Gators also need to watch for defensive line of the Aggies, specifically with Bobby Brown III, who put up a huge front with 6 tackles so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle Trask is in the starting is in that Heisman conversation right now. 10 touchdowns through 2 weeks. Kyle Pitts there. They had a great connection last year. I talked about it on our first show. That actually never reached air, unfortunately, just because of some issues going on with our technology. But Kyle Trask, he's a guy who's actually in that caliber, in that conversation. What do you have for a prediction, Brooke?
So I have Florida winning this one 34-24. Florida definitely has the top-notch players who are going out and being bold, and they can make the scoring plays. But Texas A&M doesn't really have the players who are stepping up and taking the lead on those plays. And the Aggies' defensive secondary doesn't have the power to shut down the Gators when it really should count the most. And the Gators have the offense to beat with both Kyle Pitts and with Kyle Trask.
Absolutely. Ethan, if Texas A&M were to win this game, why would they win it? What would it take from this team to come out on top over Florida?
Well, one thing I did realize when watching Florida, where I just don't think that many people are talking about, is yes, Kyle Trask and the Florida offense is doing very well. However, their defense has shown signs of weakness. They did let up 40 points to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Kellen Mond, who's a senior quarterback, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, he's very experienced. If he can take advantage of Florida's miscommunications on defense, then I think that the Aggies can give Florida a run for their money. However, I do think Florida's going to win it pretty handily.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I've got Florida taking it 35-28. I think Texas A&M is going to stay in it. They're a good team this year. Kellen Mond is a good quarterback, but you're absolutely right. The key to the game for Texas A&M is all in Kellen Mond. Florida, on the other hand, has a better overall offense. Trask is playing lights out. He was a 2-star quarterback coming out of high school, so he was never even supposed to see the field for a Power 5 school. So this is obviously a surprise. Kyle Trask has been really good. All right, let's move on to Arkansas at Auburn. Ethan, take it away.
The Arkansas Razorbacks will be visiting the Auburn Tigers this Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium. where both teams are coming into this matchup 1-1. The Arkansas Razorbacks are coming off a big upset win against Mississippi State, who beat LSU just a week ago. Some key offensive players is Florida transfer quarterback Felipe Franks, who has 412 yards and 3 touchdowns, and sophomore wide receiver Traylon Burks with 112 yards and a touchdown. And on defense, Arkansas is looking much better than past years too, as Bumper Poole has recorded 31 tackles and 12 solo, and Joe Faucio with 5 tackles and 2 solo tackles. And on Auburn's side, the offensive players, of course, quarterback Bo Nix with 410 yards and 3 touchdowns, and wide receiver Seth Williams with 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. And of course, on the Auburn side, the defense, which has been their biggest strength so far, is linebacker Jordan Peters and KJ Britt, who's recorded 23 solo tackles. I think the key for my prediction is that Auburn's going to beat Arkansas 35-21. I think Arkansas is on the rise. I think Sam Pittman really does have something special brewing in Fayetteville. However, I just think with Auburn with their backs against the wall, coming off a tough loss to Georgia, and Gus Malzahn's job on the line, if they really want to play for him, I think they're going to show out and come away with the win. My prediction is Auburn 35, Arkansas 21.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Arkansas even has a chance in this game personally. Felipe Franks, of course, was a good quarterback at Florida. The biggest thing about Felipe Franks during his time at Florida was consistency. He was never able to go game to game and play well. Of course, week 1, he looked horrible. Threw 2 picks to Georgia's safety, who I will talk about a little bit later, Richard LeCount. Who, granted, Richard LeCount's a very good safety. He'll be a top pick this year, but I don't see Arkansas even staying in this game very long. Brooke, what do you have?
Yeah, I don't have Arkansas winning this one either. I have Auburn coming on top, 28-17, just because of the fact that with Felipe Franks coming, Arkansas basically has a new offensive line that they're looking at. And they were extremely slow coming out in their first 2 starts. And the fact that they also have a new coach and an offensive coordinator is playing into that lack of offensive strength right there that I think that Auburn is going to come on top of them because of.
Yeah.
But I do think Arkansas's defense might be able to give Bo Nix some trouble, as former Mizzou head coach Barry Odom
Yes.
is the
He's
defensive
the
coordinator.
yeah.
And so he's got something special going on the defensive front, where they did give Georgia a hard time. Remember, Arkansas was beating Georgia at halftime.
Oh.
And they were
That's
they only let up
then
14 points than KJ Costello and Mississippi State.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Arkansas is a better team this year than they were last year. I just don't see their team having a chance against this Auburn team. Auburn, I have taking it 28-14. Moving on now to Tennessee at Georgia. Tennessee just coming off a win against Mizzou, currently ranked 14th. Georgia currently ranked 3 in the nation. Tennessee's got awesome players. They've got quarterback Jarrett Guarantano. He's 33 of 55 for 449 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Having a solid start to his season, obviously not throwing it into the end zone a whole bunch. Another guy on that team, a key player, running back Ty Chandler, has had 32 attempts for 176 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. They looked really good against Mizzou. Either that or Mizzou just looked really bad. The key to the game for Tennessee is absolutely their offense. They need that offensive production against Georgia. I can see a scenario in which Georgia is able to run away with the score and Tennessee can't score anything. Moving on to Georgia, as I mentioned, currently ranked number 3, quarterback Stetson Bennett, who was not supposed to be the starter. Jamie Newman decided to sit out for the season. Stetson Bennett won that starting job in camp. He's so far 37 for 57, 451 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's proven why he deserves to be the starter there. Wide receiver Kearis Jackson with 15 receptions, 209 yards through 2 weeks. Obviously a big help to Bennett. And of course, the guy that I mentioned earlier, safety Richard LeCount, picked off Felipe Franks twice week 1. He's gonna have to play a huge part for this Georgia defense. The key to the game is play like the better team. Georgia is the better team. They're the more complete team than Tennessee. That's all Georgia really has to do, just play to their ability. I've got Tennessee losing this one 17-28. Brooke, what do you have?
So I have Georgia winning this one 31-14, and mainly because of the fact, like you said, Georgia is definitely the most complete team, but also Georgia has been having the ball for a much longer portion of the game when they've been playing, and specifically against Tennessee, I think they'll capitalize on that because Tennessee hasn't been converting enough on their third downs. And so I think that Stetson Bennett definitely is going to be able to find a way to connect with his receivers, and that's going to have them take a strong lead starting right out from the gate.
And I believe I also have Georgia win this one,
Yeah.
34-20. I think Tennessee's going to hang in with Georgia early.
Yeah.
But remember, this is the first time in like 3 or 4 years where Tennessee's playing a marquee matchup. They're known as a pretty like high-up team going up against another high-up team with Georgia Bulldogs. And I don't think they're quite used to that pressure yet. And so I think I think Jared Guarantino's a good quarterback. And I think Ty Chandler is going to make some explosive plays, but I just think Stetson Bennett and Kyrus Jackson are just a little too explosive.
Absolutely. Georgia's just a little bit too good of a team for Tennessee to go up against them again. Tennessee has had 2 wins to start the season, both against not particularly good teams. Obviously, Mizzou has been dreadful. And South Carolina week 1, it was a close win, but they still pulled that win. South Carolina also not all that great of a team. Now moving to the game that everybody is here for. What was supposed to be Mizzou at LSU and is now LSU at Mizzou. For LSU, just like always, we have a package. Please enjoy.
Week 3, the Missouri Tigers will play defending champions and number 17 ranked LSU Tigers. This season starts the post-Joe Burrow era for the football team, and Coach Ed has selected junior Miles Brennan as a starting quarterback to fill Burrow's massive shoes. In Week 1, the Tigers lost to the Bulldogs 44-31, and one of the reasons for this loss was the defense. The defense gave up an SEC record 623 passing yards. However, the defense turned it around against Vanderbilt and only allowed 1 touchdown and 133 passing yards. Brennan threw for 337 yards and 4 touchdowns on the night, with the receptions going to wide receivers Terrence Marshall Jr. and Jonte Kirkland, with the longest touchdown being 51 yards. The punt return unit can be dangerous at times, as Derek Stingley can make a lot of people miss and drive the ball down the field for good field position for the offense. The Tigers vs. Tigers matchup is Saturday, October 10th in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 8 p.m. on ESPN.
And just to make a correction, I think I mentioned it a few times, the package said that the game was in LSU. That has been moved to 11 a.m. Central Time here at the University of Missouri. Moving on to talking about Mizzou. Mizzou has started off the season slow, going 0-2, but now Mizzou has the quarterback of the future. Connor Bazelak is the starter. He's gone 20 of 35 so far, 286 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, but he has a rushing touchdown. He's listed as the top guy on the depth chart, and he's the guy that I expect Eli Drinkwitz to roll with at this point. Running back Larry Roundtree has been one of the few good parts about Mizzou's offense. He has 32 attempts, 151 yards, and 1 touchdown. Then you have wide receiver Damon Hazelton with 9 receptions for 100 yards. And of course, on the defensive side, linebacker Nick Bolton plays a huge role for this defense. So far has 25 total tackles through 2 games. The keys to the game for Mizzou are simple. There are 2 of them. They need more consistent quarterback play. Sean Robinson wasn't getting it done. Connor Bazelak has looked better. He still hasn't been getting it done, though, so that they need Bazelak to step up. And 2, they need better defensive play. Mizzou's defense has looked horrendous through 2 weeks. Those are the keys to the game. That being said, I do not think Mizzou has a chance. I think that they will lose to LSU 14-31. Ethan, what do you have?
Well, I definitely agree with you that LSU is going to beat Mizzou.
Yeah, they're too good.
However, you got to wonder if Mizzou, by any chance, could hang in with LSU for a little bit. As like you said, Connor Bazelak will be the starter. And he has looked good. He showed signs of progress against Tennessee.
Absolutely.
And also, it's going to depend on which LSU shows up, too. Because LSU did fall to Mississippi State. Mississippi State's a lot better than we thought.
Granted, Darryl Stingley did sit that game.
He did.
I believe he is playing this week, and he's
true.
Pretty important. So
that is true. And I was gonna say Stingley came back, and even though Vanderbilt's not is bottom in the SEC, they looked very good against Vanderbilt. So if LSU is starting to come around now, it's gonna be tough for Mizzou to look good.
Absolutely. What do you have, Brooke? What's your score?
Yeah, I have Mizzou losing this one 14-35, and LSU taking the lead on that one. And so, like you said, both of you guys mentioned Connor Bazelak has got to do. I think that he's going to do pretty well. He did show a lot of signs of potential, especially with the last game and everything like that. As well as the defense. The defense really needs to come on top and come early in the game because they can't let themselves get in a hole because there's no way they'll be able to come back out with how good LSU is showing signs to be.
Absolutely. It really comes down to Connor Bazelak at the end of the day. If Connor Bazelak can really step up against what still was one of the best defenses probably in college football, Mizzou may have a chance. I just don't see an avenue for that happening. I think Mizzou's going to fall pretty handily to LSU, unfortunately. Hopefully Mizzou will win a game or two, but no, they're going to fall pretty handily to LSU. That's our prediction. Thank you for tuning in to this week of Tiger Pick'ems. Have a great day.